close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
And with it. Okay. Good evening, folks. Hope you're well. Hope you're fine. It's Karl Smith here from the UK Hypnosis Academy. And the long story short is tonight we have got a special guest on with us, but unfortunately the special guest has had a bit of a technical problem and he can hear me in the background, and he's going to be playing around with his bit of kit while we have a chat away in a moment. So it's great to have you on, Des, while you're still playing around with your computer.
Yes, mate.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Well, Des is going to be playing around with his computer for the next few moments because he had a technical failure. And if I didn't hit the go button, then I would have lost tonight. So let's just go through what we're going to be doing tonight. We've got Des on the line. If we can't get a visual, which isn't a sneaky beaky thing, it's not about covering up tracks and all that. Like Des really wanted to be on here, but he's just had a technical fault, which he's dealing with in the background. And we'll be able to talk to him via voice instead. But on the same token, we'll be going through that. So it's never a dull moment, is it? So while Des is doing that, we'll just crack on with the hellos and all that. So yeah, so we're going to be talking to Des Harridan tonight, and Des is obviously ex-Parachute Regiment. He then went Special Forces and then became a therapist. So we're going to be talking through his process of his life, how he went from all the way through his life in, just in the from young lad, all the way Parachute Regiment, all the way through to SF, all the way Special Forces, sorry for you guys, and then all the way through to where we are today in his life. So, Des, how are you getting on with your computer, mate?
Yes, it's being a bugger.
Basically. A bugger. So, guys, just about of interest, can everybody hear Des as he's just spoke then? I just need somebody just to pipe up, and then what we'll do is while Des is just doing that, we'll just do that. So as long as people can hear Des, that's the main thing. So if somebody can just give us a shout out, just let us know that. So let's just do that, and let me just do the hellos while we're just waiting for this just to sort itself out. Good. So Simon, you're first off the bus tonight. Well done, buddy. All the best. James, hope you're well in Bulgaria. Dennis in Nigeria, hope you're well. John Carey, hope you're well. Hypnotates. See, even Catherine Tate's even on for you tonight, Des.
Oh, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Max, hope you're well over there, my friend. Martin, hope you're well. Donovan Marsh, hope you're well. Jules Derrick, hope you're well. Colette, hope you're well. Good morning to you. Shane Swaney, hope you're well. Hope you're fine. Martin again. Eric Rance, hope you're well. Jackie Brennan, hope you're well. Miles, hope you're well. Julie Wellham, hope you're well. You're right. Eddie McAvoy, hope you're well. Good morning, David, I hope you're well. Janice Greer, hope you're well. Hope you're fine. Chris Price, hope you're well. Stevie Barker, Jose, hope you're well, my friend. So I'm just going to go through this. Yeah, what's happened is that Des has had a little bit of a technical blowout while he's been in the background. So we are going to do that. Oh, so you can hear Des clear. So Des, if you want to continue pressing buttons, dragging things and talking and abusing your computer, we can still talk this through anyway. So how are you, Des?
I'm good, and thanks for having me.
Good man. So I am going to flash up Des's details in a moment so you can actually see Des's website. So if anyone wants to talk to him, you're more than welcome to. But what we're going to be talking about tonight is something that's close to my heart, and especially for military and emergency services personnel. It's the key thing for us is, and Des comes from the same place, is that when we're in uniform, either being military or police, there is this element of shame. I think shame's quite a word as well, isn't it, Des? That you used to get, wasn't it? If you even said, oh, at the end of the day, you needed mental health training, you needed mental health and all that type of stuff, or you were suffering with mental health. It was frowned upon years ago, wasn't it?
Well, the word mental health didn't exist. There wasn't a saying. That saying didn't exist. It just didn't exist. And basically, it was basically a case of just suck it up. That was it. Just suck it up and get on with it. Be a man. Because, well, and it's probably changed a little bit, but not a huge amount. At the end of the day, we're brought up as boys and girls, that turn into men and women, and we're not treated the same. We're not brought up the same way. Yes, it's changing a bit more now, but certainly in the army, it was just, it's just suck it up and get on with it. And if you'd even mentioned the fact that you were not 100% okay in your head, then that would be a slippery slope to somewhere not good,
Yeah. So, Des, let's go through, because the reason I wanted to talk to you tonight is because obviously your background's interesting. I've got an interesting background. And I think for those people, to highlight those people, that are in uniform, that may well be either a young private in a young infantry regiment, all the way through to, specialist teams, or even through to SBS or SAS. Should we just go through chronologically, who is Des Howden, and what's led you to where you are to this day? So starting off from, from roughly where you are, and then all the way through to your military career, and then to what's led you to where you are now.
Okay, is everybody sitting comfortably? Have you got a cup of coffee?
Pull a sandbag up and knock a lantern. Here we go.
That's it, yeah. Well, I always thought I would, go off and have an adventure at some point. And when I was the grand old age of 17, I decided, because my driving instructor was an ex-para, and when we're driving along, he used to tell me all these great adventure stories, and I thought that sounds good to me. And I wasn't particularly happy in where I was living and what was going on in my life at the time. So that was like a life vest, so signed up. In 1974, my God, am I really that old?
I wasn't even born.
And off I went to Depot Para, and 6 months later, off I went to the battalion, and I spent about 7.5 years there. Did various tours all over the place, a couple of tours of Ireland. Because that's all that was going on at that time. There was nothing else going on at that time. And I managed to travel around a lot. We went all over the place at the States. We went all sorts of places. And I really enjoyed my time there. At one point, after a tour of Ireland, you normally get like a month off. But after that particular tour, a month wasn't going to do it. I needed more time off. So I actually... my time was up then, and that was a like 4-year point, and I just decided to get out. I was out for about 6 months, and I went back to where I used to live in London, which was like a bad part of London. And I was, by nature, I'd say I'm kind of laid back, calm, easygoing. But when I went back there to live, I was just in endless trouble. Every time I went out, I was fighting. I wasn't happy. I was angry. I didn't really know what I was angry at. I felt lost, because a lot of people, we'll probably get into it later, but people talk about PTSD, PTSI, whatever, trauma. I think coming out of the military is a trauma. Just doing that is a trauma before you add anything else, seeing your friends killed or anything, just that. Because that is, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. And you get all your emotional needs met from belonging to that tribe. And then when you leave, even if you leave of your own accord, it's a shock. It's a huge shock to the system where you come out into the big bad world, and all you know is you don't feel right, you don't feel good, but you have no concept of my emotional needs are not being met, and what do I need to do for that to happen? It's just kind of like I've lost my tribe. I just felt like I was a lost person. Yeah. And I did a lot of different things, and at the condensed version, I ended up joining back up again because I thought I had unfinished business. I'd done a lot of various courses, some amazing training things that I did, but this time I thought I'd come back in I'm just going to go as far as I can go, be the best version of me I can be. And basically, I decided, I was working my way up the food chain, became a corporal, did all the, the NCO courses, Brecken, all those sorts of things. I did a long-range recce patrol course that was run by the SAS in Bavaria at that time, that nobody knew this course that nobody ever knew about. I went and did that for a couple of months. That was nice, and it was a good insight into what selection might be like. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to stay in, I've just got to give it a try, because that's it. I've just got to give it a try. So posted to Edinburgh at the time. So I had a good 9 months of training before I actually went on selection. And but unfortunately, just stuff happens. I was booked in for the selection, 81 winter selection. They only do 2 selections, a winter and a summer selection. It was the winter selection of 1981. And just in 1980, there was a lot of trouble going on in Northern Ireland at the time, and we were a standby battalion. We got called out, and it was only supposed to be for a couple of weeks. Then it turned into a full tour, right. And then I get told that basically your selection is cancelled, and you're not going. You're going to do this tour, and you're going to have to apply for another one later on. And well, needless to say, I wasn't the happiest person in the world. It wasn't the fact that we were across there and it was a tour. I'd be happy to do the tour. It's just that 9 months of my life not having a drink, training 3 times a day, 7 days a week, I was focused on doing it. And this is the kind of funny thing which kind of gets to how I'm sat here now. During that tour, they have what they used to call CSE shows, like the Americans have them, the Brits have them, where, they have, like a variety show that people come out, singers, dancers, comedians, they come out and they put on a show for a few hours to cheer the troops up. And I'd only just had the news that I wasn't going on the selection. So I was feeling very sorry for myself, and I just come off patrol, sat in my bed, and the guys are going, "Oh, you should come down to this thing." I'm like, "No, I'm just not going to. I just sit here and be miserable." Anyway, they forced me to go down there, and comedians came on. I did my best not to laugh, and succeeded, and dancing girls came on, and all the rest. And then finally, this old guy came on, grey hair, and like a top hat and tails, and I thought, what the hell is he going to do? He must be some kind of magician. And lo and behold, he was a stage hypnotist. And for the next hour and a half, proceeded to do his act. And bearing in mind, I was, absolutely miserable and intent on staying miserable. I laughed so hard, I thought my sides were going to burst. And that kind of sparked my interest off. That there's something in this. I'd seen a couple of things on TV, but I thought, like everybody else does, it's just, they're planted, it's a load of rubbish, whatever, etc., etc. So that was the seed that got planted there, that I later on followed up on. So jumping ahead a bit, I then did my time there. I actually got on the next selection by the skin of my teeth. So
just a quick one, Des, because obviously I understand selection, and without going, obviously for reasons that we don't want to go down a route, but do you want to just explain what selection means? Because obviously there are a lot of people. So you've joined the army, you've gone into what's called the Parachute Regiment. The Parachute Regiment is one of the biggest selection places for the SAS, I presume, anyway, isn't it? It's either Royal Marines or paras that go, and basically what happens then is you apply then to go for special forces. For those people who don't know, you apply to go for special forces, and then what you do is it's called selection. So that selection point is where we're at now. This is the point where somebody's made that choice, and then they're going to be put through. Well, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, there's certain criteria. You've got to have been in the army for at least 3 years before you can even apply. And then, you apply and you've got no idea. It could be never, or it could be next winter or next summer, because it's either you start in January or you start in August, and there's pros and cons to both of them because it's 6 months long. And so either one, you know, they're both hard, whether you're starting in the summer or you're starting in the winter. They're both hard. So, you know, you turn up down there, and I think there was something like 130 people that turned up day one. And the first month is basically trying to get rid of people, you know, to make it a more manageable group. I mean, get rid of people by them, you know, saying I've had enough, basically, you know, because it's not like you might see on certain things where, like in the Parachute Regiment or the Marines or something like that, you know, it's in you're a group, and they're trying to, you know, when you're going through the depot there, you're young, and they're trying to, you know, motivate you, shouting, screaming and yelling at you to get on and keep up and all the rest of it. When you go on selection, it's all about you. It's all about you. Yes, you work in groups and stuff like that, but you are being tested individually, and nobody ever shouts at you, and nobody ever tells you must go on. In fact, if the complete opposite is like, you know, if you're tired, just get on that, you know, just sit down, have a cup of tea, or just get on that vehicle and just go back to camp, you know. So for the first month, it's full on all day, every day, running across the hills, which after a week 4 culminates in what they call test week. Well, that's what they used to call it, test week. 7 days of basically more of the same, but just further each day, bigger elephant on your back, you know, and it's test week. That's what it says on the tin, and it is, and that's where if people haven't already gone, that's where the biggest chunk of people go is, you know, especially in winter. I mean, we were getting dropped off. It's pitch black. You know, you get given your next grid reference. You've got no idea how far you're going. It's just that you get your next grid reference, which is like 12 Ks away. And when you get there, you get another one, and you just keep on going until someone says stop. And, you know, especially with the winter one, the navigation is very hard. So, yes, you have to be fit, and you have to be able to pick up things really quickly, but your navigation has to be really, really good. This is before, you know, GPS watches or anything else. There was none of that. It was a map and a compass, and you know, and off you went. So if you weren't a good map reader, it didn't matter how fit you were. You just never make it. So yeah, it's a tough. I mean, obviously, there's many people have written books, and there's people have written books about the whole nitty gritty of, you know, almost day by day blow an account. I don't want to bore people with day and day, blow by blow account. But this culminating in the 4th week of the 7 days. If you get through that, the last march is a thing called endurance, which is 65 Ks. Bear in mind, you've been going for a month now. You know, every day, every single day, and it's like heavier, and you know, and it is individual. You know, you get set off individually. You go from different drop-off points, etc., etc. So you can't just follow people. Yeah. So you get through that, and then after that, I'm trying to dust off my rusty head now. There's lots of range work and fitness and foreign weapons and all sorts of things. You go off and do jungle training. Jungle training is a big part. Even when the regiment per se is not involved in a jungle war, it's just the jungle will break you. It'll just break you if you allow it to. It'll just break you, because it's not that the fact you're necessarily training for theatre, because you could say, well, take people to the desert, because the last X amount of wars have been in the desert or desert terrain. Whereas the jungle is just, you know, it's a nasty, horrible, evil place where everything is trying to eat you, bite you, sting you. I mean, even the trees, some of they had these trees called bastard trees, and for a very good reason. They used to have like 4-inch spines that when you were slipping down a hill backwards, you go to grab something and it would just go straight through your hand. So there was that all the time, and it was just raining. Or it was nice because it was hot rain,
Yeah.
It wasn't cold rain, but again, it's like you've been tested all the time and you're being watched all the time. So it's, and they're watching for your attitude. How are you under pressure? And there's a lot of pressure because you're not just there camping out. You've got jobs to do. You've got range work to do. You've got all sorts of tasks that you're given to do. And that's how long is that, the jungle now? I think it's about 6 weeks, if I remember correctly. And at no point do you know how well you're doing because they don't tell you. They're just watching you all the time. You're getting your tasks, you're getting your briefings, and you go off on your patrols, etc., etc. When you come back from that, you come back and they don't tell you till you get back to Hereford whether you actually passed or not. And another thing that I didn't mention, but it's kind of like it kind of went the whole way through, but especially in the first 4 weeks where they just come into the room because you don't know, even if you complete a march and get around all the checkpoints, you don't know if you've done it in the time and you don't know what the time is.
Yeah.
And so they used to come with, we used to call it the death list. They'd just come around with a list and they'd just say, so-and-so, 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 pat your kid, leave. That was it. No sort of like shake your hand. Thank you for coming. You've done a fantastic job, but you need to go somewhere else now. No, it was the death list. It was, the nearest thing I can imagine it to be. It was a bit like being in some kind of, concentration camp or something, thinking, my God, this is it. Because as you're going along as well, apart from the fact that you're going through this, everybody else is going through it. And, I went there with a very good friend of mine. We trained together and he went out on test week, the fourth week, test week over the hills. He just missed the trig point. He just missed it. The mist was down. It was terrible, and he missed it. And he went, and that was a real shock to my system. That was a low point for me. But yeah. So anyway, after the jungle, you come back, and then it's more ranges, more stuff. Then you get into a combat survival phase, which is like a month long, where you're learning all about how to live off the land, how to survival navigation, where you haven't got compasses, you haven't got maps, etc. And, you're going out and you're learning, what can you eat, what can't you eat, etc. Survival medicine. Then it culminates in a week-long exercise where literally at the early hours of the morning, you get dragged out of bed, you get stuck in a pen somewhere surrounded by barbed wire. It's in my particular day I was doing it, was like pissing with rain. It was like freezing, and you sit there for like maybe 12 hours, something like that. And then eventually they put you on the back of a truck and they drive you for maybe 6-8 hours, and then they take you out and you get dropped off. At that time, you got dropped off in I think it was in twos. We got dropped off, and you've no idea where you are. You don't have no idea what part of the country you're in. You could be in Wales, you could be in Scotland. They had these certain different areas that they used to go to in a regular rota kind of thing, and basically you get chased for a week, and you've got to make a checkpoint every night. You've got to go, maybe 60 Ks at night, 50, 60 Ks at night, which is a fair old trek at night as well, because you can't travel during the day because you get caught. Because they have hunter forces out, they've got helicopters, they've got dogs, they've got lots of people trying to hunt you down and catch you. And obviously the idea is not to get caught. But in the end, whether you've been caught or not during those 7 days or managed to escape, and the last day, everybody gets caught. Because you go to the final RV, then you get taken away and dragged away, and you end up in interrogation for the next 3.5 days. I think it is 3.5 days of solid interrogation. And at this point, this is kind of the last real hurdle, because after that, it's a couple of weeks of, a bit of range work, a bit of this, a bit of that, and then hopefully you pass out. But, by this point, it's like 5 months we've been going. And on my particular selection, one guy just didn't do it. He just couldn't take it. All that time.
Yeah.
And it was sad. It was sad to see him go. But I wouldn't say it's the most pleasant experience I've ever had. But, after 5 months of that, I thought, unless I'm not saying this like I'm somebody special, but unless you kill me, then I'm going to get through this, because I'm come this far to fail now. I've only got 3 days to go.
Yeah.
And so you get through that. You maybe get, 7 to 10 interrogations during that period, where it's just, you're not getting anything to eat. You're in stress positions. You're wearing blue skinny pajamas, and it's just not a great, pleasant experience. Okay, so you get through that, and then you've got a couple more weeks of range work in various bits and pieces, and kind of preparing you to go off to join a squadron. Now, when I went through in 81, you have no time to watch the TV. I mean, you come in, you have a shower, you sort your kit out, you fall into bed and you sleep and get up and do it again. And but we knew that there was this thing going on with the Falklands, and that the Armada had sailed, etc., etc. And we heard a few little things, but we were in our little bubble. And then what happened was, okay, we eventually we told, okay, you guys have passed. And I think out of that 100 and whatever it was, 30 guys, there was like 7 of us, I think, passed in the end.
There was 7. So how many did you start with? It was 140, did you say?
About 130 something, I think, started. Yeah. And then got down to about 7 of us. And then you allocated your different squadrons. You're going to, which squadron you're going to go to. I went off to B Squadron. And at that time, G Squadron had already been gone down there. They were already in situation on the Falklands doing OP work, observational points, sending messages back as to what's going on, etc., etc. So people made their plans. And then, so then this was the funny, I mean, normally you pass selection, you go in, you see the CEO, he hands you your berry, he shakes your hand, he says, welcome to the regiment. Well, war was on, so none of that happened. We just got told, and we still had a pair of berries on. We just get told to go up to what they used to call the Kremlin, which was the HQ place. And we were walking up there, and we just walked past this guy who looked like a Mexican bandit, regiment guy. Walked past us going the other way, and he said, we'll be dead next week. And we all just went, what the hell? So anyway, we go up, we go into the briefing, and we walk into the briefing, and B Squadron's in there, and they all just start laughing because they know what's going on, and we don't. We got no idea. We're still being chased by the dogs and everything else like that. We're just so happy. We're like little kids, skippy, jumpy, happy. Yeah. And we went in, and then we proceeded to get this briefing. We saw this map on the wall. It had what was I going to say? It had a blow-up area of what looked like, we thought, well, obviously this is the Falklands, and this is a particular part, we can see the sea, and then they're obviously we're gonna go and take something out, and then he proceeded to tell us our task, which was to take out the airfield in Argentina at the Rio Grande. And that's the only thing that I really stuck in my head at the time. I thought to myself, I was having a flashback to being a little kid sat on my sofa watching John Wayne gunfight at the Rio Grande. And I thought, my God, I'm going to do a reenactment of a gunfight at the Rio Grande. How cool is that? It's all getting pretty fucking real. That's the problem. Oh, yeah. The thing is, we still had our selection heads on. It's just like, it's one of those, be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. Yeah. We were just so happy to get in after all this 6 months of hell. We were just so happy to get in. So anyway. The sad thing, just going on to that selection, Des, just while you hold that thought on that one, is the sad thing about selection is that, like you said, people can get within hours, within a day, but an injury can just bang them straight out. Anything from my experience, it was my shins that took battering on weight. Whenever I took heavy weight on or anything like that, we were doing OPs, anything like that, it was always my shins that got battered. And I think that possibly shins and back injuries are probably one of the biggest things why people fail at the latter end of their selection as well, I would have thought. It's very sad because if you've got any kind of injury before you start, it's only going to get worse. And so you really, apart from training, you have to really take care of yourself. And but I mean, life happens, you know, and it's sad because I've you know, I remember in my selection there was a super guy there, and broke his leg, and you know, and that was that. I mean, if you're doing a great job, if they think you're up for it, if you get injured, they used to have a thing, I can't remember what they called it, training wing, or it wasn't training wing, it was something else, where they would stick you there for 6 months where you could recuperate, and then if you were okay, go on the next selection. Yeah. But that, you know, that was only if they really thought you were up for it. A lot of times guys just went back to their unit and then had to, you know, heal themselves, start training again and apply again. You know, and quite a few guys got in on the second go. It wasn't everybody got in on the first go.
So selection, I mean, I know a lot of people that are SAS at the present moment in time. And I think, do you think that selection has changed over the years? So from when you went into 81 to, let's say, the newer breed, not saying it's any easier, by the way, but what I'm saying is, do you think it's changed in any way from what you know in the background?
From what I know, I'm sure it's changed a bit, but the main ingredients, the main elements will be there, because it has to be there, because it's the way I kind of look at things is, if you want something, I kind of think of reverse engineering. What do I want? Okay, I want some person, you know, if it's a policeman, a soldier, whatever it is, I want them to be able to do this and do this and do that. Okay, so what do we have to do to make that happen? Okay, well, we have to get the right ingredients. We have to get a sausage machine. So when we get the right ingredients and we put it in the sausage machine, that's what's going to come out the other end. Yeah. So there has to be, yes, there might be more technical things, or they might have got more into the psychology side of things, doing assessments. But at the end of the day, adversity, that adversity and putting you under huge pressure has to be there, and as far as I know, it still is. You know, so yes, they might have fine-tuned it, but I'm pretty sure it's still hard. You know, I mean, it's like I've had things with you know, guys, friends of mine in the past saying, oh, when they're talking about Parachute, for example, it's not as tough as it was in my day. whatever.
It's the same as anything. Mind you, we can all say that, can't we? Because
of course we can. Of course we can.
I mean, I'm still of an era, and Des will know this, and nobody get yourselves all upset about this. But me, Des, and you know, I joined in 1994. You know, that's 20. When did you join? So yeah, I was
74.
Yeah, 74. The year I was born, mate. You joined the year I was born.
Oh my God.
So the thing is that I joined
that old.
Yeah, I know. But do you know what though, Des? Is that for me, and those people that are watching now that ever served me or were in even at 94, I think we got the latter end of it, because when I was in the military, if you screwed up or you did something wrong, you didn't go in tapping the boards. Tapping the boards means go and getting disciplined. It was normally dealt with around the back of the garages with a punch to the face, and that was the way that things were dealt with. And nowadays, you know, there's a lot more camaraderie. And I'm really chuffed that I joined the military and left the military when I did, because some of you might think, you sadistic bastard, why would you want to do that? And especially, but that's the way it was. You know, if you were scared of getting a punch in the face, you're in the wrong job anyway. But the thing is that the camaraderie, and I've just noticed a couple of points there, the camaraderie, especially living in Germany and you being in the regiment. For those people who don't know, they call it the regiment, 22 SAS. And the thing is that you get that camaraderie. So when you do leave, and coming back to something that was mentioned a little while ago about that trauma, about leaving, it is. And, you know, when I felt that, I was completely and utterly lost, even when I only had 2 days off, you know, from leaving the army to go into the police, because I manufactured it that way. But even still, you didn't get that army feeling. You didn't get that family feeling. Like, I was out in Germany for 9 years, so we were all living in each other's back gardens. You know, it was a family affair. It was and we still see that today on regimental reunions. There's still that there going on. But I think that the military's changed an enormous amount. I believe that there might be some soldiers from the local regiment that are not the regiment, a regiment just up the road from here that are watching us tonight, because I've told them about
while you've been, sorry to interrupt, mate, while you've been talking, I've been endeavouring, it's been driving me crazy, this damn thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of looking like I'm actually getting into this thing finally after all this bloody time.
Oh, well, let's hope Des can. So the key thing is Des is a real man. We didn't do this for the mystique, by the way. For those people that are watching us right now, we didn't do this for mystique. Des just had a failure. It's called picnic, problem in chair, not in computer. That's technically what we call it. But yeah, so if you can get it up, Des, just do that. But what I was going to say then is, so during your time with 22, when you were with them, did that feel like a family to you? Was it a big family, or was it just individuals? I mean, was it just like any other regiment? Really, it was
like little families within the thing, because, for example, in Parachute, it was like a big family. It's just a different thing, because you're joining when you're younger. You got a different job. It's a different thing. The regiment is more of the ability to work on your own, although you do work in groups. But when you work in groups, they're small groups. It used to be 4-man patrols, but the biggest thing you'll ever work in is a squadron, which is, you're lucky if you have 100 guys in a squadron. You'd be lucky with 4 troops. And but yeah, the camaraderie was there. It's just different. It's just different. It's not a case of, it's like, in a way, it's like saying, is a banana better than an orange? It's just different. It's just different.
Yeah,
It was more like a club than the army. I mean, nobody shouts, nobody goes around shouting or anything else like that, because people are self-motivated, because you wouldn't get in if you weren't self-motivated. So, people are self-motivated to do whatever they need to do to get the job done. It's just, it's kind of like a different level. It's not better. I wouldn't say better. Better's not the right word to use. It's a different kind of experience, and the jobs you get to do, the training you get to do, is just beyond amazing. I mean, I used to wake up and think, how lucky am I to be me? If I'd had the money, I'd have paid them to let me do the job. Never mind getting paid for it. Yeah.
How are you getting on with getting in, by the way?
I've appeared on SteamYard. The camera's up.
Have you clicked onto Enter Studio? Click on the picture. You see that? Can you see the video of you in the bottom left-hand corner?
I can see the picture of me staring at myself.
Right. Move the cursor over the top of that, and it'll say Add to Studio.
Okay, it's not saying Add to Studio. Are you?
Have you entered your name in yet?
Oh my God!
It should just say put your name in there, buddy. So while he's just
it's just I've got me here, and then underneath I've got camera with a box underneath it saying FaceTime HD camera, blah blah blah.
Yeah, just do that. Click on click on that.
Okay, that's not doing anything. Advanced options.
No. So what you should have is camera and mic set in there, and then it will just pop up then. The joys. The
green
joys.
Screen? No, that's not it.
No. So
okay, it's just it's a pain. It's just really annoying. I apologize, guys, for this. It's just me.
It's fine. You'll do it. At the end of the day, is a thing on there that says camera and mic, and if you click on that, then that'll just pop you up. But so we've trundled on. We've pulled up a few sandbags and knocked some lanterns over the way just then on our little journey. But so there's obviously, we're not going to go into any of the operations and stuff like that you went into. But so what was it like when you came to the end of your your SAS career? How did that come about, and that transition then?
It was at the time, it's like everything, you can spend your life being born too early, born too late, etc., etc. You don't join the SAS to sharpen pencils and sit at a desk. You join it to do what people think you join it to do. And at that time, I mean, I'd done 3 tours on Ireland. I'd done the Falklands, and there was nothing. I mean, I'd done the SP team a couple of times, and I'd done some amazing training courses and jobs all over the place, etc. So it was absolutely fantastic. But as a friend of mine once said, sometimes it's time to move on. There was nothing on the horizon. There was no Iraq war. There was no Afghanistan. There was no nothing. And it was just, I just needed to push myself, to be expanded, to go for something else. Yeah. And so that was the point where I just thought, I need a new challenge. I need to do something else. So that's when I came out and got into the private security business. And that was like almost a 30-year career in that. Came out, first job I had was consulting with, what's his name?
Fired.
From the Sunday Times.
Oh, right.
The Sunday Times. It's gone out of my head. Anyway, it'll come to me. And then I went on to be personal security for the Al-Fayeds, Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi Al-Fayed, etc., etc. Then after about a year there, I helped them revamp their security, but I just needed to move on. Then I ended up with a Lebanese guy, a self-made man who had his own multi-billion-dollar business worldwide, had a huge construction company in Saudi, and he was. I went to work for him, and then later on, I went to work for his number one son after about a year, while his father, the guy I started with, became the prime minister. I went to Lebanon at the time, at the end of the war, which was 1991, and I completely, at the end of the war there, I went there and completely revamped his security, which was that was a fantastic, interesting project there for. Well, I went there for about four months to start with, and then it was just like an ongoing thing, and then the time I spent 26 years with the family, and for some amazing times, some amazing projects I had to do, etc., etc. I ended up I started as his head of security. I was the head of security for the Prime Minister of Lebanon. He was Prime Minister 3 times, and that was interesting. We had 2 entire countries trying to kill him, the Syrians and the Iranians. So that kept me busy for a while. And but then in the background, getting to this, going from that little seed that was planted back in 1981. One of my best friends, I had a couple of friends that committed suicide, and one of my best friends committed suicide. And I know we're pushed for time, so
no, mate. Are you talking about free fall?
Sorry,
are you talking about free fall?
Yeah.
You can breach into that if you want.
So basically, the long story short is, he was my mate. He blew a gasket. He ended up in a lunatic asylum in the foothills of the Alps. I mean, I was going to say you could write a book about it. He did write a book about it. He did. And they're also making a film about it now.
It's called, by the way, guys, if you want to know more about what Des is now talking about now, there's a book on Amazon called Free Fall.
And they just brought it out again. His son, who's a barrister now, he's a lovely, lovely guy. He's written a foreword on it and an ending to it to kind of round it off, because when the book was written, he was still alive and going on, but then obviously tragically he took his own life, and that for me was the catalyst. That was the catalyst, because I'd taken him in the beginning when he gasket. We brought him back to Britain. We got him back to Britain, and we took him to the great and the good. We took him to Diana's psychiatrist. We took him to the most expensive clinic in Britain. And for the next, year or more, we, through my boss, spent a fortune. And we just presumed, you spend a lot of money, you go to the top of the Christmas tree, you'll get somebody and they'll fix it. And it just didn't happen. Yeah. And, he hit the NHS, met a lot of kind, caring, wonderful, amazing people, and that didn't work either. And then eventually, I used to call myself his online therapist. All I was his friend. At that particular time, I had no training per se. He just phoned me up when he was in a bad place, and I'd just be a friend and tell him whatever I thought was the best thing to say. And and sadly he took his life. So that really was the catalyst. That's what started me off. And I thought to myself, I need to find out if there is something better than what seems to exist. I've missed something, a small thing out here. I went at one point to live in the States for 8 years when I was working for the Prime Minister. I was there with him, and I did a training there with a professor at George Washington University who taught psychology, but in his spare time used to teach hypnotherapy. And because he went to do a thesis then to prove it was a load of mumbo jumbo, and worked out that it was better than what he was doing. And so he kind of jumped ship. He was getting paid well, so he did the day job, but in the evenings and weekends he would teach hypnotherapy, and he wrote a book about it, and that was the syllabus for the course, which was basically direct hypnosis. So did that with him, played around with it for a year, but I never looked upon it as a job. I just looked upon it as something amazingly interesting. It wasn't until after my friend died back in 2002, I was kind of winding down from my job and wanting to get into this. When I could, I've always looked into, well-being, all that sort of stuff, life coaching, Tony Robbins, all sorts of things. For years, I've been looking into positive psychology, all the rest of it. But then in 2008, I went down the rabbit hole, in a big way. And I thought to myself, I'll do the ultimate training course, and then I'll unleash myself upon the world. So I did what I thought was the ultimate course, but all I found out was it's a bit like saying, I'm hungry, and someone says, do you like hamburgers? You need to go to McDonald's. You get to McDonald's, and then someone says, do you like coffee? You need to go to Starbucks. And then you get there, and then someone says, do you like donuts? You need to go to Krispy Kreme. Yeah. And so, and so it kind of went from there, but I really went at it with a vengeance. And, a bit like Barry, just a bit later on down the line, I went and I trained with Bandler, I trained with Stephen Brooks, I trained with Igor Lidahosky, Tom Silver, Freddie and Anthony, James Tripp, Jerry Klein in the States, Cal Banyan, and a whole bunch of Nick Kemp, Michael Perez, Jürgen. And I was delving into anything and everything, just looking for that gold, that what really works. That was for me, it wasn't about, I kind of a lot of the times equate this to martial arts, where, it wasn't a case of trying to get a black belt, because I knew that didn't work, psychology, psychotherapy, I knew that wasn't working so well. So it was about looking for what really does work, what results can people get. And, along the line, I've been fortunate to train with some fantastic, amazing people, and even if a portion of it rubs off, then I'll consider myself I do consider myself grateful for all the time I spent with people, and the things I've got from them.
I just had a flashing image in my head. Des trained with me about, was it 3 years ago? Kathy Tate that's on there as well, and the Tates were there as well. And I threw Des a low ball while he was on the course.
The alien abduction.
Yeah. Some of you won't know, some of you may know, but where my office is the largest UFO sighting, or apparent UFO sighting, in the world, apart from the other one in the States. Can't remember, it's just gone out of my head now. But Ros, anyway, so I'm at Rendlesham. So anyone who's into UFOs will know about Rendlesham, and I'm actually there. So the incident only happened about 500 meters away from this office. Anyway, it happened in 1980, I believe it was. Anyway, it happened in 1980. Long story short is that this area is full of people that are ufologists. I'm not saying I don't believe. I'm just saying that I'm open. Roswell, thanks, Steve. I'm open to listen. I won't nut it down. But we had 2 people turn up on the diploma that wanted regression, and I was busy, and I went, well, let's get the 2 most experienced people on the course. Pat 1, boom, you can have that one, and Des, you can have that one over there. And I think that was an experience for you.
It was interesting. It was really interesting. I just, it's the old just suspend disbelief, just leave your mind open to what could be, and just go with it and see where it goes. And that's pretty much what I did. And it was interesting. It was fun. I wouldn't mind looking back at that and having another look at it and seeing how it went. But,
I've got the video here somewhere.
I've been fortunate training with all these amazing people, but it had a purpose, and the purpose at the time was, I was looking for the holy grail of, PTSD. What was the magic bullet, et cetera, for PTSD? But, and that was my aim per se when I set off. But, you can't train with all these different people and other things not rub off. And then, just getting into seeing lots of people with all sorts of things, because it just opens you up, and it builds your skill set. And also it's just, it's about that thing of just doing some good in the world, So I've seen a lot of trauma. I've seen a lot of guys with PTSD. I worked with I helped set up a charity back in 2012. It was called saveoursoldier.co.uk, sorry. And that ran out of gas in 2019, just, couldn't keep it going anymore. My friend, God bless him, he was the one that set it all up in the beginning and was steering it. But, saved a lot of people, did a lot of good. And now I do charity work. I do a lot of work for PTSD resolution, which is a branch of the Human Givens. So I'm in their tribe and a bunch of others. But yeah, I love doing the charity work, but I also love seeing, everything. I've seen old ladies, 80-year-old ladies who, and young kids and people with, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, I just love seeing people. It just becomes, it becomes like it's not a job, is it? It becomes a passion.
Yeah. I don't even think about it.
I get up every day and I see, and I just go to it, whoever I've got to see. And, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting up and doing it. Same as you. Yeah.
Well, Kathy Tate's got a question for you. Here you go. Your Kathy's got a question. She says, what would you advise was the best you found for PTSD in your training?
Yes. Right. I don't think there's any silver bullet per se, but if anybody watches like Barry Neal, God bless Barry. Barry's fantastic guy, fantastic trainer. People use the word regression. Anything going back in time is you could say is a form of regression. Timeline's pretty good. Timeline's pretty good. What Freddie does, the time machine, that's pretty good. The rewind, which kind of developed by the Human Givens specifically for trauma, which is basically taken from the phobia cure from NLP. That is really good. That's really good. And obviously, there's lots of other things. Your stuff as well, Karl.
Yeah.
I don't think there is one single thing. I don't. And I think it's, you've just got to really see the person who sat in front of you, and you've got to hear their story. And in the beginning, back in the day, I used to have all these ideas in my head and write things down, and and I still do. Why I still do it, I've got no idea. I write stuff down before the session, and I never ever do what I've written down, so I don't even know why I bother doing it. I go with the person that's in front of me and what I think is going to be best for them. Yeah, I've got my favorite things that I use for certain things that just have a greater chance of working. It's like percentages, isn't it? It's it's a bit like martial arts. You could do in the street, you could try doing a spinning back kick, and that might have a 10% chance of working. Or you could just do a good old right cross, and that's got a 95% chance of working. So, I have my favorite things that I've just found work well for me, and I've kind of a bit like Barry. I've blended stuff. I
think that's vitally important, isn't it? Is that You know,
Yes.
you go out there, you go train, you know, you go do, I've forgotten how many people I've trained with now, but you get this mash from around the globe, not just your country. You get a mash from around the globe and look outside your normal sphere of where you train. That's what I like doing on this channel, like bringing in different elements so people can go do it. And if they like it, they nick a bit and they take it and they mash it up. So when you're in a therapy room and you're sitting there and you're bashing away and you're like, well, I've done that, I've done this, and I've done that in your head. You're not saying it out loud, of course. And you're, oh, well, I've tried this.
Oh my God, I can see you now.
Oh, hang on a minute, folks.
Is this the better late than never? Is that what it is?
Oh, mate, there you go. 2 seconds.
Oh, hang on. Where is it?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, guys, at 55 minutes, this is Des. So there you go. So there you go. So we can hear you, mate. Pardon? Can you hear me?
Should we do this and this as well for the sound?
2 seconds. Can't you hear me? He's got the mute button on, isn't he? I bet that's what it is. He there, guys.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I don't know. It's the thing's not muted or whatever else like that. So I don't know. Well, talk about never better late than never. I don't know if that actually applies now because it's been, you know.
Yeah, it's all good, man. But no, guys, have you got any questions for the elusive Mr. Des Howden, who does really exist, as we've just proved?
It's not a mirage. It really is me. That wrinkly old guy sat here is me.
Yeah, with all these certificates on the wall. I've got my certificates on my wall here.
No, I don't even know where mine is. It's just, pictures of the kids and a few other things I've got here now.
Yeah, yeah. So, guys, have you got any questions for Des? I have been watching it, and just I wanted to cover something. I know somebody just said something a minute ago. I think it was Eric. Eric, by the way, I am perfectly fine, by the way. The problem is that I am looking at the screen, but when you've got nobody, you're interviewing nobody. That's the biggest problem I had just then, is that as in I had nobody to converse with like we are now, and I'm watching what Des is up to. So I'm sitting here, Des, I was telling this a minute ago, going, oh yeah, thinking, hurry up, Des, hurry up.
I know. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. It's just, I'm an old dinosaur. What can I say? You know?
There you go. So let's have a go there. Let's have a go. From Janice.
Mm-hmm.
How deeply do you discuss trauma with your client?
I let them take the lead. I let people tell their story. I let them tell their story at least once. I tell them, I have my own little pre-talk. Everybody's got their pre-talk, what they do, bits they explain, etc., etc. But I do my pre-talk, and then I let them tell their story. Because sometimes people just need to unload. Sometimes they've never told the story, and so they need to tell it. But continually telling it is not good. And I get people who've been to psychotherapists and counselors, although I am a trained psychotherapist and counselor under
the Human Gibbons, which is a different gang altogether. But the idea of, I see people who've been telling the same story every Friday for 5 years, 10 years, and they went in scared of spiders, and now they're scared of everything. It's just like it's digging a trench. It's like digging a trench to somewhere, and they're not a good place. You know, so I have that as part of my chat with them. I say, you get to tell your story once. You know, but after that, and I explain it all, why, blah blah blah, because all you're doing is entrenching it, and I also tell them, you don't have to tell me any details or anything for me to help you, but if telling the story makes you feel good, and most of them it does, then I'm happy to listen once. After that, it's not that I just say, look, it's not that I'm not compassionate and I just don't care. It's not helping you to continually tell this story, because it becomes part of their identity. It becomes part of their identity, and they get huge secondary gain, as they say, benefit from it, because because, you know, it's not me. I sometimes do this. It's like, you know, people go to a doctor and, you know, they go to a doctor and they get diagnosed with PTSD, for example. And before that happens, they've normally caused death and destruction in their life. And they're genuinely looking for an answer, you know, what's wrong with me? They know something's wrong with me. And then they go to the doctor and says, oh, yeah, you know, listens to you for 5 minutes and 39 seconds, you've got PTSD. And then he starts scribbling you a prescription. And then he gives you this, the badge, and you can put it on there like that. PTSD, so you can go home and show it all to everybody else. This is like you'll get a jail-free card now for the rest of your life. Right? You know, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a dick. It's him. It's him here. He's doing it. It's him here. It isn't me. It's him. Yeah.
Identity.
No, that's okay. That's the benefit side of it. But then when they get told, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Whatever, I'll give you this prescription, and he's thinking, oh, that's cool. I'll take these pills for a few weeks, and then that'll level out my chemical balance in my system and my head, and then I'll be fine. No, sorry, Mr. Jones. You do realize you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life. Now, there's a really empowering statement to be made. You know, when you go in to see a so-called expert, whatever that means, you know, your guard is down, so you're open. It's like before you're 9 years old, you're just open, you're just soaking it up. So when someone in a position of authority tells you something, most people take it on board. I've met guys who've been told that most terrible, disempowering stuff, and you know, you're not starting one of these a clean page. You've got to undo what's been told, less than helpful beliefs, before you can then start doing some good work with people, because they've got a whole bunch of misunderstandings and unhelpful beliefs about, you know, the fact that, you know, well, I'm just messed up. This is the way. And people come to me a lot of times wanting coping strategies. You know, can you just give me some coping strategies so that I can just you know, get through my life, because my life's awful. And I think, how sad is that they've got to the point where they believe that the most they can possibly hope for is to cope with their PTSD and all the symptoms that go with it, their depression, their anxiety, and all of it. You know, it's just hugely disempowering. It just is. And you've got to really, you know, it's a bit like the NLP belief system, you know, like a table. You've got to hack away the legs, you know, so the table falls over, you know, because they've been filled full of a lot of unhelpful, not only unhelpful, but plain downright not true stuff.
So there was a quick question just then, Des, is what is human? What is human given? So human
givens is a where's my here we go. Human givens. That's they've produced a few books. This is kind of their Bible type book. Now, because of the history with me and my friend, etc., I did not have a love of clinical psychology, psychiatrists, or any form of counseling whatsoever. I met arrogant, stuck-up people. They were mostly the ones that charged the most. And then I met some really kind people who just, it's a bit of the forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they're doing. It just didn't really help. But the Human Givens is the only group that I've come across that actually talks some sense. You know, it really is. I mean, it would take a long time for me to go into it, but the essence of it, if you like, is the fact that, you know, everybody knows we're born with physical needs. You know, we need to eat, we need to drink, we need to sleep, we need shelter, and if we don't get those, we'll die. But also we've got emotional needs. Now, I know Barry talked about, he's talked certainly in a couple of his videos about, what's his name? NLP. Oh my God, what's his name? Tony Robbins. Yeah. Tony Robbins, and he has six. You know, he has six. You know, that he has. You know, psychological needs that, and if people get these needs met and balanced, they'll be fine. And I actually believe that. I actually believe that. You know, that's the case. The Human Givens, they've got 9. 6, 9, they've just been incorporated. But in essence, it's, I could run through it quickly. It's things like, security, feeling we've got security in our life, control in our life. We need to give and receive attention. We need emotional connection. We need to belong to some kind of wider community. It's like the army thing with, having a tribe, then you come out and haven't got one. It's like, my God, privacy, being able to get some privacy, status, competence, achievements, and purpose and meaning in life, which is huge. If people have purpose and meaning, it's the kind of thing that bulletproofs us against the bullshit of life. Because everybody gets, the dog dies, people you love dies, you get injustices happen to you, people tell lies about you, all things happen. But the meaning thing, purpose and meaning really is the one thing that really kind of bulletproofs you against that stuff. Obviously I could talk about it longer, but, if you can go on the website, and they've got tons of stuff on there for free. You can just have a look at it. I'm not a salesman for them because I believe in free choice and people doing whatever they want to do, but it's the only psychological group, psychotherapy type counseling group that I've got any time for. I studied the positive psychology stuff. There's elements of that I like, blah, 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 but it's a useful thing. It's a useful thing. I'm not saying do you need it to help people? No, but it's like in-depth understanding of what it is to be a human and what are emotions about and all the rest of it, et cetera, in one place.
Yeah. Good. What was the, did being in the military from Eddie McAvoy, did being in the army determine your hypnotic style?
I guess no, you would think direct. And the very first training I did was a direct hypnosis training with a guy who was old school. He was the professor at George Washington University. And he was kind of like, Jerry Klein, Carl Banyan, from that ilk. But I did the direct stuff first. And then I got recommended Stephen Brooks, who's the guy that brought indirect hypnosis, Ericksonian hypnosis to Britain 40 whatever years ago. He brought it here, and he had a successful business, back in the day when Paul McKenna was doing the stage shows. And if Paul McKenna had anybody that needed therapy, he didn't do it. He used to send them to Stephen Brooks. He had a successful business. He had a house in Kensington. He drove a Porsche. He had a house in the Cotswolds. He had a house in the south of France. And he was a Buddhist. And in the end, he gave it all away, the whole lot, and went to live in Thailand and sat beside a waterfall for 12 years, meditating with all the monks, became a monk, et cetera, et cetera. And I trained with him for years, and amazing guy. Went to Thailand, did a retreat with him, did some stuff that, just blew my head off. So yeah, I've done both. I've done both sides of the coin, and for me, there's a place for everything. There is a place for everything. I mean, Ericksonian people, if you talk about saying anything direct, they're like, my God, you can't say that. But Erickson used to be direct, square peg for a square hole. There is gold to be had everywhere. I used to say to my kids, sometimes you got to read a 200-page book to get 5 pages of gold. Sometimes, if you're really lucky, you can read a 200-page book and get 200 pages of gold. But that's rare. But there is gold to be had everywhere. And I just think everybody's on their own journey. Some people that go, they join a tribe and they never leave. And if that works for you, fine. But it's a bit like, for me, it's a bit like turning up at a church and thinking, oh, I would like to sing Onward Christian Soldiers today. And you get to the church and they say, you're walking in, they hand you a leaflet and it says, Onward, Land of Hope and Glory or whatever. And you say, well, I want to sing the other one. They're like, well, no, you can't do that here. You'll have to go to the church down the road. I'm like, that's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. For me, it's the most important thing is keeping an open mind. The minute you think you know everything, then you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Just leave the door of possibility open that somebody may just know something you don't. There may be some gold out there you haven't heard about or found yet, you know. And I think if you keep an open mind, then I think it's a good thing for life, but especially in the therapy business, because it's, you know, there's something like 400 different types of talking therapy. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, what? That can't be true. Surely not. But yeah, it is. You know, it's a minefield of people coming into this. I did martial arts most of my life, and you know, did all different styles, black belts and this, etc., etc. But all I was ever interested in is what works. You know, what works, and I just applied the same philosophy to the whole therapy thing. What works, you know? If you're a fantastic salesman, you could sell a fridge to an Eskimo, but you might not be much good to him, you know? So enough of my ranting. Has anybody else got any kind of question at all whatsoever? I'm happy to answer anything.
There we go. Well, I'll tell you what we will do, Des. We'll bring you on another night. We'll do that. We'll bring you on another night. I know.
Part two. In person this time.
Yeah. We'll I'm going to get him up from Wiltshire and sit him in the office so we haven't got no complaints next time. But I know Eddie as well. While you were talking as well, Eddie's a big fan of Human Givens as well. In fact, I think you gave me a Human Givens books, didn't you? You gave me a copy.
Yeah, the last time I was up, you were using it as a doorstop.
I was. Yeah. No. No, I got that. No, yeah, I was going to say my book's out the back there. I did read it ages ago, actually. It was last time you were down. But no.
I mean, I used to go along to seminars of anything, you know, because I was on the search for stuff, you know, that the 200-page book for 5 pages. And I kind of got this in the army and then kind of applied it to everything else where, you know, you're sitting there and you're listening to someone. And I used to do it with martial arts, and I was thinking, my God, they were doing so well until they said that, whatever that was. You just shot yourself in the foot. And when I first went to study the Human Givens back in 2010, the thing I love most about it is all the other psychology counseling things, you got to sign up, you know, you got to pay 10 grand and sign up for a 4-year course or something. There, you can go, you could be anybody and turn up for a day workshop on anxiety, depression, you know, PTSD, trauma, and there's no hard sale. You could go there, do the thing, leave, and never come back. You know, and lots of people do that. They want because they got a particular niche or something they're really interested in, and it just kind of puts. I like their attitude. I like the common sense factor. There's no kind of mumbo jumbo, psychobabble stuff. It just kind of makes sense. Do you have to do it to make people better, to help people get better? No, of course you don't. There's lots of things you don't have to do. It's just, you know, I just started on my quest, got kind of hooked by it, and ended up doing it all the way through to becoming a practitioner of it. But like all the tribes I've worked with and belong to, I don't hold myself beholding to any one tribe. Not that I think I'm above anybody or anything else like that. It's simply that, you know, if I want to sing On My Christian Soldiers, I'm going to sing On My Christian Soldiers.
Yeah.
And I'm not having anybody telling me that I can't.
So we're gonna take this last question, and then we're gonna knock it on here because we've been going for nearly an hour and 15 minutes already. Don't forget, guys, put big thumbs up if you've enjoyed listening and seeing Des eventually tonight. Put a big thumbs up. It'd be really appreciated just for you to do that. The last question is, what was your major test of endurance, the moment you felt superhuman?
The most major test of my endurance.
I would take that on.
I don't think I ever felt superhuman. I think there's ever been a point I felt superhuman. Like when I did selection, I used to love to tell people that I cheated on selection, and then people's ears would come up like that. My God, finally we've got somebody to admit to it. You know, what was it? What was this? Well, how did you do it? You know, how did you do it? And I said, well, I cheated, and I actually believe in some respects that I did. Because, you know, the selection was 6 months long, but I never did 6 months. I did one. I only ever did 1 day. I'll get through today, you know. And at some point, literally, it was like I'll get through the next 5 minutes, you know. So test of endurance. I don't know. I've done a lot of crazy things in my life. I honestly don't know. I'm not trying to be evasive. I really don't know. I mean, SAS selection was pretty damn hard. So there was a lot of stuff in there, but other things in life. But yeah. Cool.
So guys, we're going to knock it on the head now because of obviously a bit of a technical issue with the sound and stuff like that. But look, just a big shout out. Look, Des's materials there. So if you need to give Des a shout out, please give him his website's there. Everyone's probably hitting it just now, but on the same token, give him a shout out. And I think that the reason I wanted Des to come on really is to show that, especially if I just mute this, especially for those people that that do think they're above, that they are. Let me just move that. That they're in uniform, or that they're male and they don't need this and all that type of stuff.
David's come from a background, special forces.
My background of police and military just shows that it's not something that should be, that should be buried. And I still think personally that in today's world that even the military is not up to scratch nowadays. I know that families officers from the local regiments on at the moment, and I can tell you now some of the things that are put in place are just shocking, but that's anything that you know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, doesn't matter how big or thick your body armor used to be, there is still a human being underneath it, and that's what you got to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, I've got son that's in the army at the moment, and I was kind of hoping that things would have changed a lot. Certain things have, but at the end of the day, they're still not looking after people. They're just not. They're just disappear or see in the world.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Guys, we will get Des back on. No, Des hasn't got a YouTube channel yet. That's a bone of contention with me, that I've been banging away for the past few years.
I haven't got that, but guys, I'm going to let you into a big secret that only a few people have seen that I do have. I don't have a YouTube channel, but I do have this.
Fairy dust.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, fairy dust. Sit there and sprinkle it on. Guys, Des, it's been a pleasure as ever, dear sir. And it's always, I know our Catherine's sitting there going, "Oh, John's in the room, so she can't get too excited." But the thing is that it's always great to speak to you, my friend. We'll stay on afterwards. Guys and girls, we've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. Put a big thumbs up wherever you are, on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are, and leave us a comment. But don't forget, guys, we will bring Des on again, and this time he will be more au fait with the system, and we'll be able to do that. But I hope you've enjoyed tonight. And at the end of the day, I hope you've got something from it. Des, as ever, thank you very much, my friends, for coming on tonight. We'll have a chinwag in a moment. But guys and girls, I have got another guest presenter tomorrow. He's just going to confirm for me. I think it may have come through on my phone while we were talking just then, but I will confirm tomorrow morning for you. And then we'll go from there. All right. So Des, thank you very much. Don't forget, if you want to speak to Des about anything we spoke about tonight, please email him, contact him, abuse him. He enjoys it. Guys, 7:30 tomorrow night.
Sorry about the hassle with the technical hitch. And yes, like Carl said, if anybody wants to have a chat with me, it's a free chat. Call me, get in touch with me. I'm happy to chat about anything.
He drinks coffee and cake. Anyway, so that's a different story. Yeah. Guys, as ever, thanks very much. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. Don't forget, go out there, be safe in that crazy ass world at the present moment in time. And don't forget to go out there and go practice. And when you finish practicing, that's right, go practice some more. See you at 7:30 tomorrow for another hypnotic journey. Take care for now, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best from me and Des. Take care.